Hey folks, MBS. Continuing on with my Hilux repairs, we're going to be replacing the drive shaft on this Toyota Hilux four-wheel drive. Okay, a word of warning. This is not for the faint-hearted, I tell you. The reason I say that is I've already done the right-hand side, yeah, I didn't film it, but oh my God, what a job. And it's nothing like what the instruction manual tells you. They say to undo the inboard bolts, there's 6 bolts inboard to hold the shaft against up against the diff flange, and you undo the circlip here, and then you just push it out. Yeah, simple. Geez, that sounds simple, doesn't it? Oh, not a chance, people, not a chance. You'll see everything I'm using here, so if you've got what I've got, yeah, you'll be in luck. You should be able to do this job by yourselves. So here's the drive shaft. It starts here, yeah? We undo the circlip. There's the outer swivel hub. I've got it in picture. There we go, outer swivel hub. And there you've got the inner. If you can see those bolts right up there in the background, we've got 6 of them around there. We're going to undo them. Now this shaft cannot come out because the thickness of this little fellow won't fit in between the sway bar and the shock absorber. All right, so we have to undo the sway bar and the link there and pull it aside, and we have to take the shock absorber out and put it aside a little bit so that this hub here will fit between them when we go to push it out. The next problem is this does not drop down far enough for this shaft here. Oh, I'm terrible with this camera, where is it? The shaft will hit the control arm, right here. And you can't lower it enough to clear the differential flange. We have to undo the 4 bolts down underneath here for the ball joint so that we can lower the control arm to clear that shaft just there. All right, and you'll see all this happening there, and I'll let the games begin. Alright, so you notice I'm down to here. There's no disc, no caliper or anything fitted. If you want to see how to get down to this stage, then have a look at my replace the disc rotor video. That goes you through the process of removal of caliper, removal of the hub, and then you'll be down to this stage. All right, and that same video shows you how to put it all back together, back to caliper on, new pads in. Now, after cleaning up all the crap around these little 10mm nuts, we can get the socket on there and take this cover plate off. From here it doesn't matter if we take this circlip out now or not, but we will. Let's just get yourself the... Now, the thing I found on the other side is you probably need a little screwdriver to help you pull this out over the lip. The thing is, you don't want to stretch this out too far. You don't get a new one in any kits. So you want to make sure you don't overstretch it to get it off. Now we need to get this one out over the top as well. And there we go, we've got that off. We've got that off. Okay. Now we can spread it with this a little better. Just enough to get it off. Very, very careful with that circlet. And there'll be a little washer behind it. All right, we got to get those 6 bolts off in there, and that is a task and a half in itself. Righto, I can't get the camera down here, guys, to show you really, really clearly what's going on. But hopefully through this gap here you can see. You need to put a spanner on the inside bolt head. Now we're going to be undoing, so the shaft is going to turn that way when we undo it. With this spanner on the head, that spanner now is hitting up against the chassis, just near the control arm here. That enables us to put this spanner on here and push that way. And we're going to do that with our feet. I'm going to grab onto the bull bar at the front, put my foot on that and undo it. Oh, holy! Pretty tight. Yeah, and that's what you're up against, guys. So you do that with every one of them. Keep turning it round, put your spanner back on to the inside nut, lock it up against the chassis, put this fellow on and push it with your feet again. Okay. I don't think I need to show you anymore of what's involved there. Then we can just undo that nut. All right, so do that for all 6 of them, guys. And I should say, make sure that that inner spanner is all the way onto that nut. Otherwise, it will fall off when you go to push it. And make sure that the second spanner on the nut itself is got full coverage. Otherwise, you will do yourself an injury. Oh, wow. Awesome, eh? Okay, so you've undone your 6 bolts. I should say your 6 nuts. Now you're trying to push the shaft out away from this flange so you can lower it. That's your next challenge. And I tell you, it just does not go out far enough to do that, yeah? Unlike what the manual says. So, you can get it eventually if you jiggle it round and rotate the drive shaft around. You can eventually uncouple this, but I'm not going to bother with that. I'm just going to drop the control arm so that we can move the stub axle further away, and that'll give us plenty of room to pull this away from the studs. Oh, sorry guys, you missed out on me taking this bolt out. 22mm nut at the front, bolt in through here. We just undid that nut and we had to force this out all the way with a punch and hammer because it's so badly rusted. Once we get that bolt out of the shocky, you pull the shocky out. If it doesn't come out easy, just lever it out with a jimmy bar or something in between there and the shocky. Pull it out and move it forwards to get the clearance in here. Now we're still not going to have the clearance to drop this shaft down. We've got to lower the control arm. So now we're going to have to undo these 4 bolts at the bottom of the stub axle, and then we'll be able to separate it and lower the control arm. Give it a bit of a tap and you can see it's starting to separate, and there you go. We have to get it totally apart, and yeah, look, I think my sway bar is holding me up now from the other side. So it really looks like I'm going to have to take the sway bar off so that it's not physically forcing this up so hard, because it's going to take a bit of effort to hold this down and take that shaft out. So I'm going to go ahead and either undo it at the top, undo it at the bottom, whichever comes off first, just to separate it from the stabiliser bar. Okay, we've undone the nut at the bottom here. The rubber is stuck in there, but it turns out it's not the sway bar causing the recoil at all. It'll just be the rubbers on the inner joints. All right, so we can get that down. We can pull this out. We should be able to now reach in and hopefully get that shaft off and drop it down. Okay, and there is the problem. I don't know if you could see it with that angle. It's still in the way, even though we've got this little curl here that they've created, which is supposed to let you get this through. Oh look, on this side you can do it. But still, the control arm is lower. You can imagine if the control arm was up a little higher, there's no way that would fit through there. So, I'll get that through again, and then we can start pushing this shaft out. Yeah? So, now we've got to clear this sway bar, so we might, whoops, I liked it better when it was out actually. So I will do that again, but I just wanted to turn this a little bit so it clears the sway bar. And there we go. I'll get underneath and pull that through. La la. And there you go, people. One drive shaft out. Yeah, pretty simple, wasn't it? Undo the 6 bolts, undo the circlip, push it out. Yeah, pigs fly too. All right, now we got these from onlineautoparts.com.au. Pretty cheap, I think they're about 160, 170 each. So if you didn't want to spend $170 and you only wanted to spend 50 or 60 to replace the boots and do it yourself, you will definitely need a workshop manual to pull this apart. And because I'm not going to do it, definitely not. And you can replace your boots. Yeah, okay. I might even have that on my Hilux page as well, how to actually pull this apart and replace the boots. So if you want to have a look at that, you can. All right, for this case, we're not going to bother with it because I don't want to stuff around for 2 or 3 hours extra per side to just do the boots. When I get a new joint, guys, brand spanking new. It won't be worn like that one probably is. We start afresh. All right, let's do the cleanup. We're going to have to clean up the hub inside. We're going to have to clean up all this. We've already partially done it. Get rid of all the crap that's on it. Clean up the ball joint socket where it bolts up to the lower, to the, the kingpin arm here. And make sure that they mate together. Clean up around the shocky. Just clean everything up that's got a mating face where you're bolting stuff together. And we'll just check the flanges on the differential there for when, and that face here, and make sure that's nice and clean for when we put the new shaft on, because if any grit gets in between there and you get this mismatch, it sits like that, you're going to get a vibration. Not good. So make sure all your parts are clean, and we'll be good to go, ready to assemble this. All right, I'm going to attempt to put this in on my own. Now, we've greased the inside, we've greased around here, we've put some grease around here. This is high pressure grease, and we leave these on for the time being until we get these over the studs. Once they're on the studs, we can snip them and then pull these through. This is just to stop this cap from coming off on you during installation. All right, let's get under there, see if we can do it. Okay, and I can see here I'm gonna have to pull down on the arm, I think, maybe, to get this in. Whoops. There we go, and up she goes. Cool. Line her up onto the flanges. just getting stuck here. Those cable ties. And back it comes, all right? So we'll leave that loose and we'll come up there and we'll put that circlip on. So this might take a little bit of seating in because at the moment I can't even see the circlip on here yet. And I'll get the washer and circlip, clean them up a little bit. Bit of high pressure grease on that washer where it's rubbing up against that brass bushing. Now what we'll do is we'll probably have to put a bolt in here to help pull this out. We'll get our circlip on ready for assembly and just spread it enough to get it on. Okay, there we go. Now we'll spread it a bit more and move it up a bit. Get it up nice and close. Now we've got to get this shaft all the way. I'm not even close, so this is going to be fun. Obviously the new parts in here, the new rubber and everything is very springy. And that's why I guess they say you should put the shaft in, put this circlip on before you go ahead and tighten everything up on the inside there. Let's see if we can pull this out. Oh look, I'm terrible asking for help. I have found an alternate way to get this shaft through. Big pair of multi-grips. I'll just put it on the back of the joint there so that I can just pull it in lightly. And there we go, that gets the circlip in. And done. Circlips on. Okay, where there's a will, there's a way. All right, what I might do now is just pull this arm down so that the ball joint sort of goes back sort of where it should do. Now what I'll do is I'll go in there and I'll cut those cable ties off and bolt that up. And I'm going to use the same technique, people, that I used to get it off. I'm going to lock one spanner onto the bolt head at the back until this swings up and hits the chassis, and then I'm going to use my feet to do them up. But this time I will be underneath the bus pushing with my legs because that's the way the spanner's turning. So that's the way we're going to do it back on. As you saw me taking it off, it took quite a bit of strength, and I'm going to be putting the same amount of strength through my feet to do that nut back up. Alrighty, give that a bit of a snipper. Give that a bit of a snipper. And I'll just pull that through. And we'll pull that one through, and then we'll get our 6 nuts on and start doing them up. Okay, now for the fun part. Okay, now I've got to push against that. That's locked up against the body. I'm going to have to crawl my way up there and then crawl my way back, crawl my way up. Oh, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that up tight enough. Can't see a thing what I'm doing. However, here we go. That's locked up. And just keep doing that, guys. Wherever the next one is, just keep rotating it round. Put your spanner on, lock it up, and then get your foot on. That one's going to require a second reset. Right, that's our shaft done. We'll position the shocky and try and get it back in there. Should be able to get that in. There we go. That's in there nicely now. I think we might just give that bolt just a tad of a clean up before we put it in. And where's the big nut? There we go. And there should have been maybe a big spring washer. All right. There's a little bit of a thought for you fellas. Why don't you add a little bit of Never-Seize to your shock absorber bolt so that it doesn't seize in like this one was. There we go. Let's get this sucker on here. There we go. That's your shocky on. We've done the bolts up, we've done that up. Now we just got to get this ball joint in, yeah? Get it back into its position. So we'll lower the control arm, bring it back up, and see if we can get these bolts in. Now get all your bolts started first before you start doing them up. Not two diagonally across, all four. And that is that back on. Righty-ho. Only one component left, a little shield that goes on here, and we'll have to put our sway bar nut back on the bottom and the washer that came off. Okay. So sway bar on. Okay, the last little bit now. Put our little plate on. Get him lined up like so. This little plate here, there's a hole in the bottom. I believe that faces downwards. And we'll get one bolt in through that. That's your drive shaft, and believe you me, the right hand side's just a little bit harder because of the way the diff is offset. A bit harder to get to those nuts on the other side. If you think you can do this job, guys, go for it. All right, let's have a look at the tools I've used. So if you haven't got any of this stuff, you might find it a little bit difficult. Right, a quick rundown on tools required. These are optional if you've got them. We need a 22mm ring or open ender. You need 17mm rings, not open ender, and a 17mm combination. You'll use a combination of those to undo those 6 inner nuts. We've got some sockets. These are single hex that I use when I'm using rattle guns. You've got the 14 and 17mm. You've got your 22 for undoing the shocky, and you've got your 2 small ones for undoing the 10 and 12mm bolts. Lever bar. You may sometimes need a spanner, a 10mm screwdriver, heavy slogger to go with your punch when you're punching out trying to get those cones out. Another hammer for just if this one's too heavy. A couple of circlip pliers, external. This one's got the flat blade on it, and this has got a pointy end on it, so you may need a combination of those. I haven't got that little tiny screwdriver that we use to get that circlip out, and a big pair of multis. If you're having a second person, you might get away without those. A socket set. Most people have got a 1/2 inch drive socket set or a 3/8. This is a 3/8 kit, and you'll get these little sockets come out of that kit. 1/2 inch drive, you should have that in the kit. If you've got all this stuff, guys, you should be able to do this job, okay, just as I've done it. Alright guys, hope that was helpful. Catch you in another video.